will be about project management. The idea with this series is to prepare you for what we are talking about next week. So it's much more introduction. We will do a small assignment on some of these concepts. So what is a project? Basically, as it says there, it's a temporary endeavor to create something. So in this case, the definitions focus on products, service, results, etc. But if you think about it, an assignment, something such as a GIS site analysis, all that can be a part of a project. So it's basically as a beginning and an end, and it can be various complex interlinking activities that run through the time. What is also important to note is that it speaks about we are concerned about time because time is money, and we're talking about the budget. So we need to keep within a budget. Okay. So a project ends when the objectives are achieved, when we know the objectives will never be achieved, or if the need no longer exists. So if you listen to the podcast, you would hear that Amy spoke about how they did a project with a client. They went through a number of iterations and finally they realized what they are trying to produce and what the client actually wants do not align. And then they decided, okay, no, this project is being terminated. Okay, so the project outcome can be tangible or intangible. So it is not necessarily a physical set of maps. It can also be something that it can also be a type of service that you're producing. So a project can create a product, a service, or a capability to perform a service, improvements in an existing product, and a result, such as a research project. So I want you to look at what is all the research about user studies to summarize this for me in different types of user studies and then write a report on that. That would be a result. Okay. Every project or sub-project generally has these three constraints: time, scope, and cost. And you need to find a balance between these two because you can't spend more time than what they are willing to pay you. Because every person in the team has a billable hours, so they will only be able to pay you for example, 100 hours worth of work. So that 100 hours worth of work, they need to fit into what they are looking for. They cannot ask you to create a ArcGIS from scratch with just 100 hours of work. A web map application with some basic analysis, yes, that is more feasible. So you need to look at what is feasible within the time as well as the cost constraints. Okay, project management. So we spoke about a bit what is a project, etc. But now how do we actually manage this project? And this is where project management comes in. So this is knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques that allows us to meet the requirements of a specific product. The goal of project management is to have a successful product in the end. This success can be determined by various things. For example, if you are working with a franchise and to select a new location, the success of the project might be based on if this franchise is open, does it actually draw customers to that location? Okay, so there you can see it needs to align with business objectives, marketing needs, product capabilities, as well as organizational effect. Okay, the project management lifecycle. So this is a list of processes that you need to go through to actually get to the end of the project. So each of these processes actually have sub processes. Okay, so basically when you get a project started, it is not just limited to identifying the requirements, executing and planning, communication and management. There's a lot of soft things in there that also needs to take place. So just a note on requirements. That is what we will focus on next week. We will work on identifying the requirements next week. And then the planning, execution, communication, management. That is actually the topics we will cover next semester in GMT 320. Okay, the project management lifecycle. So we said that it's not limited to those things. It also has the balancing the competing constraints. So making sure that the scope remains the same or manageable. The product needs to be of a high quality, ensuring that we stay on schedule, making sure that the budget is still correct, everything is aligned there. We have the adequate resources, and lastly, managing risk. The project life cycle. So this is now a sequence of events that takes us through the entire process. So functional or partial objectives, which are all time bound. So these are work packages that you need to complete to get to the end of a project. Okay, so generically, these can be starting a project, organizing and preparing, carrying out the project, and in the end, closing the actual project. So you can see here a bit about time as well as cost and staffing. So the project management outputs, you have a charter, a management plan, accepted deliverables, as well as the final documentation. So these things you will actually produce next semester. So when we start the project, there's some effort and cost involved, but as we get into the planning and the actual work, this actually increases exponentially and then starts to taper off and suddenly falls also quite exponentially. So you can see that when you actually do the work, that's where the most of your effort is. But planning is also so important because if you don't have a proper plan, you will just have double the amount of effort when you are actually trying to execute your plan. So here's a bit of a different view on the same. So you can see initializing the process, planning the processes, executing. But this is an iterative process. You implement something, you see that there's a lack, and you have to go back, redo your planning, and then implement again. When everything is then fine, the clients are happy with the output, you can then close the project. Again, just a bit of a different view here. So you have the requirements that goes down to feasibility, planning, design, construct, testing, turnover. But you have all these arrows that can take you back. So again, you have this iterative process if there's any issues that need to be adjusted for. Okay, the role of the project manager. So all of you can actually become project managers. And if you stay long enough in a specific field, you will probably become a project manager. So what do these people actually do? So competency requirements, if we speak about that, they need to have the knowledge. So they need to understand the project management life cycle. They need to understand what is needed in a project. Performance. So when you are a project manager, you're actually involved in various projects. And the more you are involved in a project, the more you actually learn. So you'll take this knowledge and actually implement it in your projects. And so on, you will become more faster with your work, a better manager, etc. And then next, you need to be professional. Okay, some of the leadership skills or interpersonal skills is leadership, team building, motivation, communication, decision making, awareness of the culture, negotiation, conflict management. That's a very important thing. So if you are in charge and two of your subordinates are struggling to work together, you need to sit them down and actually sort out this problem. Okay, what do project managers do? They work on planning and scheduling. So before the project even starts, they need to figure out what needs to be done and in what direction we are actually working. So this is where your Gantt charts and all those things start coming in. Managing resources. So they need to be good at managing the resources, and this actually includes people. If I have a person that's struggling with a certain aspect and I have a different team member that's a bit stronger in that, I need to move the work to the stronger person to maybe get it done faster so that we can reach our specific goals. You need to make sure that team morale is always good. So you need to be able to read people. So if you see colleague number X is having a hard time, take them for a coffee, see what you can do to improve their life. Then the biggest thing is probably you are important for the cost run over. So you are responsible that the project actually is completed within the budget. If the customer suddenly wants more work, which is called scope creep, then you need to go sit down with them and see what can be done actually within the budget and as well as the time allocated. So that's your job to actually manage that. Then ensuring quality. Um, so you have to maintain the quality, make sure that everything is according to what should be done. Uh, like we said previously, you learn a lot from these projects, so you should keep on learning from this and see what you can take into your next project. Deploying changes. You are responsible basically for the end product. Make sure that everything is implemented and according to what the client wants in the end. And lastly, managing and ensuring integration. So ensuring that all the different outcomes are actually achieved in the end. The importance of project management, it saves time and money. So as you can see, this is the person that actually sits behind everything. Make sure that the project works as smooth as possible. They improve internal communication. They empower you to make data-driven decisions, enable you to scale and repeat your successes, uh, greater alignment across teams, facilitate better risk management, and helps you optimize your workflow because we want happier employees. So you can see that a project manager is actually a very important position, and this is really something that you can look into if you are passionate about people and you are very good at seeing the bigger picture. Then you might be actually a very good project manager.